Hey, what's going on, folks? Welcome back to the Parkside Merchant channel. I have a very special announcement here for today's video. At long last, we have finally completed the Collector's Tin 2004 Yu-Gi-Oh! Promo. I have all 6 cards here now in PSA 10. And so I did share a post about this on my Instagram about a week ago, but I figured I would do a quick video here just to talk about a couple of these cards. Really pretty big achievement for me. I mean, I just got started on kind of trying to knock out this set towards the end of last year, so maybe like December or so. And it's been a slow build. I mean, it's taken a long time to track down a couple of these cards. Some of these PSA 10s here have a total pop of like, I think 8 or so, 7 or 8 cards were some of the smallest pops from this set. So it's actually a pretty tough set to do in PSA 10. And I think there's only one other set that's complete to my knowledge. I did see somebody on eBay has a complete set of all 6 of these cards in PSA 10. So I don't think it's very common that people do this. But I figured what I would do in this video is maybe talk a little bit about a couple of these cards and then just kind of give you some perspective on sort of why I like these cards and why I like this set. So maybe I'll just kind of start off with a bit of commentary about, you know, why this set, right? Why not BPT, the Booster Pack 10, which is sort of the obvious pick for a lot of people. So number one, Booster Pack 10, as everybody knows, and that has some real nice cards in there, right? The Booster Pack 10 BPT, you've got Blue Eyes White Dragon in there. You've got a Buster Blader in there. You've got a Jinzo in there, right? There's some really cool stuff in those Booster Pack 10s. There's obviously a lot of appeal in there for me, right? I'm not going to sit here and say that I wouldn't be interested in having Booster Pack 10, the entire collection in PSA 10. The plain fact is it's just very expensive to try to do that. You're talking probably thousands of dollars if you were to try and either buy the tins and then grade the cards, or potentially just buy the PSA 10s outright. So that's kind of point number one for me, is that it's really expensive, and I was not interested in spending a whole bunch of money to try and do that. By comparison, at least in the past 9 months or so, especially towards December, January, February, even last November, I think I was buying some of these cards too. It was a lot cheaper. I mean, it was we're talking, you know, a couple $100 for some of the really fancy ones in here at that point in time, which by comparison, I mean, if you look at the BPTs these days, good luck finding somebody that'll part with those for a price that's not several hundred and usually thousands of dollars for most of these cards now. That's what the people at least list them for. And then when there's only 8 copies or 7 copies of them, it's like, what are you going to do, right? You could try to talk them down, but it doesn't always work very successfully. So in any case, that's reason number one. Reason number two about why I chose to do this set and these cards. I actually like these cards a lot, folks. May come as a surprise to some. I think a lot of people look at these cards and they're like, who cares about, you know, Insect Queen, or like, I don't know, pick another one, Obnoxious Celtic Guardian, right? These are just like lesser cards compared to Jinzo, compared to like Dark Magician, you know, like Blue Eyes White Dragon, obviously, and all the good stuff from the Booster Pack 10 series, which, point well taken, right? I completely agree. I'm not going to come here and tell you that, you know, Swift Gaia, the Fierce Knight, and Command Knight are like more important or more iconic or more critical cards or somehow relevant to the significance of the series than all those OG monsters that got printed in the Booster Pack 10, right? That's not the argument that I'm here to make today. But I do still find a lot of these cards to be very interesting. You'll notice every card from this particular set, if you can see them all here at a glance together, these all come from the for the most part, the Season 3 arc, which is again, when you think back to like why people like stuff and why they don't like certain cards, Season 3 was not the most popular season from the original Duel Monsters era, right? It was coming right off of the Battle City season, which everybody enjoyed, and then Season 3 had like all these, just a kind of a boring storyline for some people. It was like about the Big Five and the corporate dealings of Kaiba Corporation, and there's all this stuff about like, the defense industrial base and like all this stuff that people just, I think, were not super excited about, at least from that age bracket at the time. Now that said, I still enjoyed the series quite a bit. I thought that the whole arc with the Big Five, with the cyber realm that Noah Kaiba had been living in, the whole thing about Gozaburo Kaiba being sort of like an interesting villain, I just thought it was an interesting storyline. And yeah, it was like sort of a distraction from the whole, Battle City arc or whatever. But most of these cards, you look at Command Knight as an example. This was a Gozaburo Kaiba card from his, I think it appeared in the duel with Exodia Necros. So kind of a fun looking, very cool artwork. I mean, you can't knock the artwork here on these sets. That certainly is a very interesting looking card right there. Some of these others like Blade Knight, this was sort of like a Kaiba staple there in the Season 3 arc. He used it a ton. Same for this guy, Obnoxious Celtic Guardian. This was a Yugi card. Probably got played like 10 times in the series during the 3rd season. So there's some good stuff in here. Swift Gaia the Fierce Knight, of course, has got some appeal to it. Obviously drawing on the Gaia the Fierce Knight, right? The card from Season 1 that everybody remembers. So I guess, in my opinion, the cards are cool. I think they draw from a season that was pretty interesting. And the artworks are also really quite good, in my opinion. There's no artwork in here that I think is not good. I mean, maybe you could argue this guy looks a little cartoony, the Total Defense Shogun. He's got sort of a cartoony, sort of a funny kind of a look about it. But, I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty much... I like these artworks better than some of the sets. There's certain monsters in some of the sets that I'm not really that interested in. Like I look at, in my personal opinion, again, this is opinion here, folks, but like when I look at sets like kind of like Labyrinth of Nightmare as an example, it's got some cards in there. I've talked about this before on my channel. Not really a huge fan of the set. There's a couple in there that I like. But when it comes to like some of these secret rares or ultra rare kind of artworks, I really like the look of a lot of these cards here. Compared to some of the stuff that comes out of those original 11 sets. My favorite card from this set, folks, is by far Insect Queen. I believe, my opinion is that Insect Queen is one of the most underrated and honestly one of the most like neglected cards by Konami in the original Duel Monsters era. And if you think about it, this goes back to my whole beef about like Labyrinth of Nightmare and some of these other sets where you've got villain cards, like the Masked Beast, for example, or all those different cards that Merrick used in his various duels, right? You could look at any of them. The Lava Golem, the Nightmare Wheel, right? All those different, all the Egyptian-themed like Sphinx cards that got played, like all that stuff. You think about all the villain cards that get either an ultra rare or secret rare print in those first 11 sets. And the obvious gap is this card, in my opinion. It's the Insect Queen. Weevil Underwood is one of the, arguably one of the most consistent antagonists in the original series. He shows up in Season 1. He's in Season 2, obviously, at Battle City, where this card gets a lot of play. And then he shows up from time to time for basically the rest of the original Duel Monster series. Other villains come and go, right? But the one villain that kind of sticks around for most of this entire saga is Weevil Underwood. And you could argue his mainstay monster, especially once he gets to Battle City, is the Insect Queen card. And on top of that, you look at all the cards that Joey Wheeler picks up at Battle City, where you have cards like Jinzo that get one from Esperoba, the guy that's the, the sort of like psychic duelist. And then you've got the Mako Tsunami, the fish monster guy that plays the legendary fisherman, right? Both of those cards, Legendary Fisherman and Jinzo, get what they deserve, right? They get an ultra rare or secret rare printout in the 11 sets, first 11 sets. This card, on the other hand, gets relegated to a 10, unfortunately, which is too bad because I think it's a big card, and it's a big villain monster, and it's, in my opinion, the best card from the set. It's one of the main reasons I was actually interested in starting to collect the Collector Tin 1 set in the first place, was because it had this card in it. I will tell you maybe one last thought here on the collectability of some of these cards. There's a couple of these guys here that are extremely difficult to find in a PSA 10. I believe the Command Knight was one of them that's a total pop of, I think, PSA 10s, I think is about an 8 or a 9 total pool. Like there's 8 copies of this thing in PSA 10 that exist. And I think there's one other here as well. I don't really remember. It might be the Celtic Guardian or the Blade Knight that's also only about 8 or 9 copies in PSA 10. So some of these are actually pretty hard to get, folks. Harder to find in a PSA 10 than arguably most other cards. And I know what people say, right? They're like, well, with a 10, you know, there's a 1-to-1 ratio, so every 10 has 1 copy of the card, which means in theory, if a whole bunch of these 10s showed up out of the woodwork, then you could totally lose all the value in the card because they would all grade 10s. Fair, right? Peace on that point, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, it's been almost, these are 2004, so like going on almost 20 years. There's only 8 copies of it. I don't know. I mean, go on eBay. There's like a couple of these tins that are for sale. And I'm telling you, those tins get shaken around a ton. And I've seen folks open up Insect Queen tins and other stuff on YouTube. They don't always come out looking that good. And even some of these tins that I have here, you can see they all have some minor manufacturing defects from time to time. This one's got a little bit of a corner issue on it. I think the Blade Knight also had a similar sort of a corner boo-boo, right? You can see that nice corner boo-boo on the PSA 10 copy of the Blade Knight. So they don't all come out perfect, folks. And I'm telling you, like, fine, like maybe they're not as cool or as exciting as the Booster Pack 10, but for people that enjoy these cards, and for people that want to have an Insect Queen that's like the most original version of it, this is about the only way that you could go. The other thing that's kind of weird about this set, folks, is I've got 2 of these guys here that are considered non-secret misprints. So if you take a look at their foiling, these don't look like secret rares, right? They look like ultra rares. They've got sort of like that solid foil on the back. This one's got a real pop to it, which also is kind of a weird thing, right? I don't know how many, if there's only 8 Command Knights in the total pop pool, I don't know how many of those are non-secret misprints, but it would stand to reason that probably not all of them are. There's probably 1 or 2 that are supposed to be, that are printed correctly. So probably adds more to the sort of novelty and collectible factor of it all. So in any case, folks, just wanted to do a quick video here to post some of my thoughts about the 2004 Yu-Gi-Oh! Promo Series Collector 10 number 1. Really cool cards in my opinion. Really happy that I finally completed the entire set in PSA 10. And yeah, that's about all I think for this video, folks. Let me know down below what you think of about these cards, about sort of how this stacks up to the Booster Pack 10, how this stacks up to some of the other Collector 10, right? There is a Collector 10 number 2, so there's some other stuff in there that people sometimes are interested in as well. But yeah, let me know down in the comments what you think. Thanks again for watching, folks. This is the Parkside Merchants channel, and we'll see you next time.